The halo effect. This phenomenon occurs when an individual's overall impression of a person, brand, or product influences their feelings and thoughts about that entity's character or properties. It's a psychological bias, a common human tendency, which makes us judge other aspects based on one trait or experience. For instance, when we perceive a person as kind or generous, we generally assume they possess other positive traits too, like intelligence or reliability. Similarly, our perception of a brand or product often relies on one defining feature or experience. We tend to extrapolate that one experience, positive or negative, to form a broader judgment. This generalization forms the basis of the halo effect. The bystander effect. A compelling psychological phenomenon whereby the more people there are who witness a person in distress, the less likely any one single individual is to step forward and offer assistance. This might strike you as counterintuitive, especially considering that we, as social beings, are often expected to aid each other in times of trouble. Yet this is an effect documented and proven by numerous studies in social psychology. Imagine for a moment you're in a crowded city. You notice a man collapsed on the side of the road, seemingly in need of medical attention. You might instinctively look around, expecting someone else to take action. This is an example of the diffusion of responsibility in play. As the crowd around the man grows, the sense of individual obligation to help decreases. Each person in the crowd subconsciously assumes that someone else will intervene. This diffusion of responsibility dilutes the urgency and personal duty of every individual in the crowd, thus reducing their likelihood of stepping in to help. The bystander effect is a fascinating paradox of human behavior, where the presence of others discourages action, rather than encouraging it. This is principally due to a diffusion of responsibility. Confirmation bias. We tend to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs. This is a psychological tendency that we all possess, and it greatly influences the way we perceive and interpret information. This tendency is rooted in our desire to maintain consistency in our beliefs and attitudes. It's a sort of mental shortcut we take to avoid cognitive dissonance, a state of discomfort that occurs when we hold two contradictory beliefs simultaneously. When faced with new information, we are much more likely to accept and remember facts that reinforce our preconceived notions. This can lead us to form inaccurate conclusions and miss out on valuable insights. In contrast, data that contradicts our beliefs is often ignored or rejected outright. It's not that we deliberately choose to be biased, but our brains are wired this way. Being aware of this bias can help us approach new information more objectively and make more informed decisions. The anchoring effect. This is an incredibly interesting psychological phenomenon that we often overlook. It refers to the natural tendency that we, as humans, have to place a disproportionately heavy reliance on the first piece of information we encounter. Whether we are conscious of it or not, our minds are wired to give more weight to the initial data or facts we come across. This singular piece of information then serves as the anchor, the reference point from which all subsequent judgments, decisions, and evaluations are made. It becomes the standard, the benchmark against which everything else is assessed and compared. This effect is quite pervasive, affecting our everyday decisions, from what we buy at the grocery store to how we perceive other people. It's a subtle influence that impacts our decision-making process, often without us even realizing it. This is our tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information encountered when making decisions. The Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon. Picture this. You're enjoying your day when suddenly you stumble upon an interesting fact or a peculiar word you've never heard of before. Within this very day, or maybe the next, you start finding that very piece of information popping up in the most unexpected places. It might be in a book, a conversation, or even a billboard. This seemingly serendipitous occurrence is not as mysterious as it might first appear. In fact, it's a psychological phenomenon that has a name. It's called the Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon, a term you've probably never heard before but may now start noticing. After noticing something for the first time, there's an inclination to spot it more often. This newfound awareness then creates the illusion that it's suddenly everywhere, around every corner, in every conversation, leading one to believe it has an increased frequency. The Dunning-Kruger Effect, an intriguing psychological phenomenon, sheds light on a peculiar aspect of human cognition. It's interesting how some people, with an inflated perception of their own abilities, tend to overestimate their skills and competencies due to a chronic lack of self-awareness. This could be for a variety of reasons, including lack of exposure, educational shortcomings, or a simple refusal to accept the truth. This overestimation, however, isn't limited to their self-perception. It extends to how they perceive others, with a stark underestimation of their abilities. Interestingly, this isn't out of malice, but rather a skewed perception of reality. Ironically, they are often oblivious, not realizing that their understanding of their own abilities and those of others are greatly distorted. It's an intriguing paradox, a curious case of cognitive bias, where the less competent believe they're more competent, while underestimating others. The placebo effect. The power of belief can sometimes heal or improve symptoms just because a person believes they are receiving treatment. This peculiar phenomenon, known as the placebo effect, has been a subject of fascination among medical practitioners and psychologists worldwide. Studies have shown that, surprisingly, the human mind plays a pivotal role in the healing process, which often works independently of physical treatment. Belief, expectation, and hope are potent fuels that can drive the healing process, influencing the body's biochemistry and potentially improving symptoms. The power of placebo doesn't lie in the treatment itself, but in the patient's belief in that treatment. For instance, sugar pills, when perceived as a powerful drug, can relieve pain, control blood pressure, and even cure insomnia, all because the patient believes they are taking an effective medication. This mind-body interaction highlights the staggering influence of our thoughts, beliefs, and expectations on our physical health. The placebo effect. The power of belief can sometimes heal or improve symptoms just because a person believes they are receiving treatment. It is a testament to the extraordinary power of the human mind and its role in the healing process. The sunk cost fallacy. The more we invest in something, the harder it becomes to abandon it. This phenomenon is not limited to financial investments. It can be time, effort, emotions, or even dedication that we pour into a cause, a person, or a project. The more we contribute, the more entrenched we become, the more we feel the compulsion to continue despite any negative outcomes or losses. It might be a business venture that has long ceased to be profitable, a relationship that is more draining than fulfilling, or a hobby that has lost its charm. Yet we persist. We keep pumping in more resources, more energy, more of ourselves under the illusion, the hope, that things will eventually turn around. It is a psychological trap that keeps us locked into situations or relationships that are no longer beneficial or even harmful to us. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes the best course of action is to let go, even when it's clear that the investment is not paying off. The spotlight effect. This is an interesting psychological phenomenon that most of us experience at some point in our lives. Have you ever walked into a room, immediately felt as if all eyes were on you, scrutinizing your every move? You're not alone in feeling this way. It's like being on a stage under a spotlight, where you believe every action you make, the clothes you wear, the words you say, all are under intense observation. You may think that every hair out of place or a minor stumble in your steps is immediately noticed and judged by those around you. This is the spotlight effect in action. While it's normal to feel this way, research actually suggests that we tend to overestimate the extent to which our actions and appearance are noted by others. This is because we are naturally more focused on ourselves, our own actions, feelings, and thoughts, leading us to believe that others are equally focused on us. But here's the reality. People around us are usually too engrossed in their own worlds, their own thoughts and issues, to scrutinize us as intensely as we imagine they do. It's a startling realization, isn't it? So, next time you find yourself in the blinding glare of your own self-perceived spotlight, remind yourself of this simple truth. We often believe we are being noticed more than we really are. The Pygmalion Effect, a fascinating psychological theory that has captured the attention of scholars and laypersons alike, with its profound implications on human performance. This concept is named after the Greek myth of Pygmalion, a sculptor who fell in love with a statue he had created. In the realm of psychology, the Pygmalion Effect refers to the incredible power that the expectations of others can have on an individual's performance. It suggests that when we expect more from people, they tend to deliver more. It's a form of self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe someone is capable of achieving high levels of performance, their performance is likely to rise to meet these expectations. This correlation between expectations and results is not just a theoretical idea, but backed by extensive research. Studies have shown that teachers who expect students to succeed often see those students excel, while managers who believe their team members are high achievers often witness elevated productivity levels. The Pygmalion Effect is a potent reminder of the power of positive belief and high expectations. It shows that when we believe in people and set high expectations, they often rise to the occasion, exceeding even their own perceptions of their abilities. This brings us back to the statement we started with, the Pygmalion Effect. Higher expectations lead to an increase in performance. The paradox of choice. This is a concept that many of us may not be familiar with, but what exactly does it mean? It's a circumstance wherein we're presented with numerous possibilities, and those vast options end up producing an entirely counterproductive result. It's the irony where having a multitude of options at our disposal can lead to a problem that one wouldn't necessarily associate with abundance. This problem manifests itself in the form of anxiety. Yes, an overabundance of choices can actually lead to increased levels of anxiety. The sheer volume of options can feel overwhelmingly daunting. This multitude of choices can also result in decision paralysis. This is when the inability to make a decision or choose an option stems from the quantity of available choices. The paradox of choice. Having too many options can lead to anxiety and decision paralysis. Remember to always keep an open mind and be aware of these psychological phenomena in your daily life. Psychology is an intriguing field, unveiling the mysteries of our minds and behavior. It's a journey of exploration where every discovery tells us something new about our nature. And you, my dear viewer, are part of that journey. Have you ever wondered why we behave the way we do? Why some actions are instinctive while others are deliberate and calculated? Or perhaps you've pondered the complexity of decision-making, the process of our brains weighing pros and cons before settling on a choice. These are just a few of the fascinating topics we delve into here. We seek to unravel these secrets, to bring you closer to understanding the intriguing labyrinth that is the human mind. And it's not just about knowing, it's about applying this knowledge to improve your life, to make sense of your interactions, your emotions, your thoughts. But it's not a one-way street. We encourage active participation, engagement, and most importantly, curiosity. So keep those insightful questions coming, and let's continue exploring the psychological marvel together. Don't forget to subscribe to Cognitive Catalyst for more intriguing insights into human behavior.